morning, Grace Church. How you doing? Awesome. We're glad you're here. And thank you for being here on a 4-day weekend. That is amazing. I'm just delighted to see your faces. And today we're going to talk about friendships. We're going to talk about relationships. And I'm going to say this. We're right in the middle of a series called Habits. And there is no greater habit that you can develop than developing the right kind of friendships inside of your life. In fact, I want to suggest that if you don't, oftentimes bad friends are going to shipwreck you in the Christian faith. So this is a pretty important subject. And so let's ask God, let's just lean into God a little bit today, and let's ask him to speak to each one of us individually. And so just pretend like everybody else is gone and it's just you and me in the auditorium, and we're talking about your friends. How's that? All right? So let's pray. So Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you, God, for everyone here. And my prayer, Father, is that you would just take my words and you would use my words in a very clear and powerful way. Lord, I just want to cooperate with you and say what you want me to say. And so, Father, I pray today that as we study your word, as we open your word, God, that you would open it to us in a very clear and powerful and wonderful way. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. So habit number 4 is choosing my relationships carefully. So I want to start with a passage of Scripture. I'm going to read out of the Living Bible this morning, which I normally don't, but I think this captures an idea that I want you to see. Proverbs 27:19 says, "A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses." So if you want to know what you're really like, all you've got to do is look around and see your friends, because they're a reflection of what you're choosing. They're a reflection of who you're inviting in to your life. And so that is such an important concept. And so I want to start today with our time together by giving you a little bit of a quiz. This isn't a trick quiz. This will just be a fun quiz for you and I to take. So answer these questions in your mind. Don't shout them out. Just answer them in your mind. Name the 10 wealthiest people in the world. Now think about that for a minute. The 10 wealthiest people in the world. Now name the last 10 Heisman Trophy winners. Pretty big deal, right? Heisman Trophy. Who won it last year? That's cheating. That's cheating. Name 8 people that you know have won the Nobel Prize. Somebody 8 people who have won the Nobel Prize. Name 8 people who have won the Nobel Prize. Now, how about this? Name the last 10 Academy Award winners for Best Picture. Last 10. Or the last decade's worth of World Series winners. Now, if you're like me, when I took this quiz, I flunked. Just flat out, I'm just going to tell you, I can name a few in every category, but the truth is that I flunked. And what's interesting about this, surprisingly, it's how quickly you and I forget, because these are no second-rate achievements. The World Series, the Heisman Trophy, Best Picture of the Year, that is pretty big stuff. And yet you and I have a very difficult time remembering those kinds of things or events in our life. Now, here's another part of the quiz. See how you can do on this one. Name 3 people that you enjoy spending time with in your mind. Can you list 3 people that you actually enjoy spending time with? Hopefully they're sitting next to you today. Hopefully that's true. Name 10 people. Name 5 people who have taught you something. Name 5 people in your mind who have taught you something. And name 5 friends who have helped you in a difficult circumstance, helped you work through it emotionally. So my guess is you did far better on the second quiz than on the first part of the quiz, right? Is that right? So why is that? Why is it that you and I connect better to friends than achievements? Well, here is my conclusion. The people who make a difference are not the ones with the most credentials, but the one with the most concern. So people who have loved me well, are the people that I'm going to remember in my life. I can remember the names of some teachers that I had when I was in the 3rd grade. And that was a long time ago. Trust me. Why is that? Because I experienced an unconditional, loyal love. When people give you the kind of love that God has, they're remembered. They're impactful. And just a sidebar here, I'm just going to tell you this. If you want to be impactful in people's lives, I'm going to tell you, you don't need a great degree. You don't need to have great talent. You don't need to have a great background. All you need to do is learn how to love people the way Christ loves them. Love them impactfully. And I'm going to tell you, you'll be remembered for all the days of your life if you'll be a person who just loves in the manner that God loves us. So, who are the kind of friends? The next section I want to talk about is who are the kind of friends who make the biggest difference? Okay, if I was going to choose some friends, who are the kind of friends that I would want to have in my life? Remember, we could. The book of Proverbs says that we can really measure our life by what friends we choose. Here are the kind of friends that I would want to have in my life. People who love life. I want to be around people who love life, don't you? So if I'm choosing a friend, I don't want to be around somebody who hates everything. You know, hates In-N-Out, hates this, come on. Who doesn't love In-N-Out? I'm just saying. Come on. Let's just say it the way it is. And it's miserable to be around people that hate everything, right? I want to be around somebody that loves most everything. I'm going to give them a couple passes on a few things, but I want to be around people who love life. I want to be around people who are good. Really good. And I'm not talking about performance, I'm talking about character. I want to be around someone who I know in my heart has great character. That's who I want to be around. And I want to be around people who will challenge me, who won't let me live the status quo. And I want to be around people who will listen to me, and I want to be around people who I can trust. Would you agree with that? So if that's the truth, how do I then become that person? Because that's really the goal. It's for me to become that person that people are attracted to. And why would I want to do that? I want to do that because I want to leverage myself for the sake of God. I want to be used by God to be able to influence people. So if that's the case, then I've got to learn how to become the right kind of friend. This is an important concept to God. And I need to first start with my relationship with God. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So what are the habits then that I need to develop inside of my life if I'm going to be the right kind of friend, if I'm going to have this relationship thing down right? So first of all, I would say this. If I'm going to be the right kind of friend, I've got to ask the question, what relationships around me do I need to strengthen? What relationships around me do I need to be strengthened? Here's something that I've noticed. Maybe I'm wrong. I believe that almost all of Americans are emotionally lazy. We may be hard workers at other things, but I think when it comes to really cultivating deep and abiding relationships, I think culture reveals the fact that we settle for a Facebook kind of relationship, which is distracted and disconnected. And I'm just saying, I think that what we need to learn how to do is learn how to strengthen the relationships around me. So habit number one, I suppose for lack of a better way to say it, would be if I'm going to have this habit, I've got to have the habit, not a one-time thing, a habit of strengthening the people around me. So how do I do that? Well, let me show you a verse of scripture. Romans chapter 12, verse number 9. This is Paul writing to the Roman church, and he says, don't just pretend that you love others. Well, why would Paul write that? Because we're good pretenders. Don't just pretend that you love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Stand on the side of good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. So I want to capture the idea of taking delight in honoring the friends that are around me. When is the last time that you gave honor to a friend? Maybe some of you are good at that. I'm not. I'm preaching to me. If I'm going to be the right person before God, I've got to take the time to honor the people around me, the people that are really impactful in my life, I need to be able to name them, to talk to them, to appreciate them, to show gratitude towards them, to honor them, to lift them up, to tell them how much of an impact they've had on my life. And so I don't think, very good at the idea of honor. I think what happens in our culture is when relationships aren't doing anything for us anymore, we're quick to drop them, right? Hello out there? Okay. So I want to show you a little bit video here. It has something to do with my message. I'll tell you about it in just a minute. But watch this video. You know, who doesn't love a puppy, right? I mean, puppies are cute. Puppies are, when they're in that phase, before they start chewing things, that is. So I want you to, keep that vision in your mind, that picture of those puppies. And then I want you to think about this. There is a lady who confessed that she loved to get rid of dogs. She would buy puppies, and as soon as they got out of the puppy phase, she would find a new home and she would go out and get another puppy. So she went through this over and over again. She obviously has an addiction to puppies. And she writes this: I am a serial dogamist. In the early stages of the relationship, I'm head over heels. I attend to all the puppy classes. I don't begrudge picking up dog poo. I love it. I love everything about it. There's nothing I wouldn't do for my new canine companion. But the moment things get complicated and they develop a problem, I don't covet that dog anymore. In fact, I start wondering if there's another dog more suitable out there for me. Maybe one that is less bouncy, less barky, less inclined to molt everywhere. I'm just looking for a new puppy. And so the search begins. I cannot rest until I've found a replacement puppy to lie accordingly at my feet. This is what she's writing. These are her words. Isn't every commitment, this is me now, isn't every commitment like a puppy waiting to turn into a real dog? When you think about that, when we begin relationships with one another, we're all cute. Until you get to know us, right? We all have that cuteness to us, and then all of a sudden, we start letting the dog come out in us, and pretty soon we're not so cute, and pretty soon we're chewing on shoes, and we're barking when we're not supposed to bark, and we begin our commitments with enthusiasm and anticipation until when we stop loving that cuteness of the puppy, then eventually we just say, I give up. Love that fulfills its obligation is what is real love. That's what Paul was saying. Don't just say you love people. Don't just fake it. Real love loves people when they molt, when they poo, when they do anything puppies do or dogs do. That's what real love. To enjoy long-term committed relationships, we must accept that long-term responsibilities that come with them. What relationships do you need to strengthen in your life? What relationships around you have you kind of given up and abandoned and you're not honoring anymore because they just are difficult? Every relationship that I've ever been in, every one, bar none, including my marriage, and my wife would say this too, every relationship that I've ever been in at some phase becomes hard and difficult. And now I'm faced with the idea of what am I going to do with it now? Am I just going to turn it in? Trade it in for a new puppy? Or am I going to live through that and learn how to honor people when they're difficult to honor? That's the idea of what it means to really love people the way Christ loves the church and how he loves you and I. So the question then is what relationship do you have right now that you need to strengthen? So let's just make this really practical here today. I want you to think of a name. Who do you need today or this week sometime? Who do you need to go to and say, you know what? I just want to honor you. I just want to tell you how much you mean in my life. I just want to tell you how much I love you, how much I care about you. Who do you need to go to? Who do you need to speak to this week? That's hard stuff, but it's what makes us good at relationships. Then, here's the second habit. First habit is, who do I need to strengthen? Second habit is simply this: what relationships do I need to reconcile? Life is messy. Life is hurtful. And along the way, I know that there are hurts and habits and hang-ups and all these things that happen in life, and before long, I've got this anger and my bitterness in my soul, and before long, I need to just reconcile. So Colossians 3:13 says, bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. It's pretty clear, right? I mean, I don't need to talk about that. I don't need to explain that you love God's forgiveness, right? You basically absorb God's forgiveness. You bask in it. You love God's forgiveness. Yet when someone comes along and hurts you, you're quick to put that wall up and push them out. Who do you need to reconcile with this week? Who do you need to make it right with? Who have you hurt? Who has hurt you? As a Christ follower, this is not a suggestion. I'm just going to tell you. This is not something that I can take or leave or choose or not choose. This is a command of God. This is a command. And you and I need to learn how to live in obedience to Christ. One time President Lincoln was asked how he was going to treat the rebellious Southerners he would eventually win the war, and how he was going to treat the rebellious Southerners who, left the United States, and this is what President Lincoln said. He said, I will treat them as if they had never left. That's reconciliation. That's what it means to forgive, is to treat someone as if they had not sinned. That's what forgiveness is. So what relationship now do you need to reconcile? So I know in my heart that as I'm speaking, I'm sensing by the power of the Spirit, I'm sensing that God is talking to somebody here today. I'm sensing that somebody in this room needs to reconcile with somebody. I don't know who it is. You do? So just whatever that is, maybe it's the whole room. I don't know. Probably is, isn't it? So that was a pretty good guess, right? Amen? All right. So who do you need to reconcile with? And then, so far it's been pretty easy. We have to strengthen relationships. We have to reconcile relationships. But now we come to something far more difficult. And that is there's some relationships that I have to end. Because they're not helpful. And not only are they not helpful, they're hurtful. And so what kind of relationship would I need to end in my walk with God? The kind of relationships that interfere with my devotion to Christ. Those are the kind of relationships that I have to end, something that's harmful to me. Proverbs 13:20 says, he who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools bears harm. It is really a very important thing. I said this at the beginning of the message. I'm going to say it to you one more time. The main way that the evil one shipwrecks us away from Christ is through friendships. Is just developing the wrong friends who influence and push us away in the opposite direction that we should be walking in. So sometimes I just have to end that relationship. And so let me probably give you a really obvious example of this, but there are many others, but I'm going to give you an obvious one. Let's talk about addiction for just a few minutes, okay? And so before I start talking about addiction, I want you to understand that everyone in this room is recovering from something. Look me in the eyes. Everybody in this room is recovering from something. And so we all have a past, and we all have an addictive nature. And addiction isn't just drugs and alcohol. There are a lot of different kinds of hang-ups and habits and hurts along the way that I've got to recover from. So if I'm an addict of any kind, I could be somebody who can't control spending. I could be someone who is harmful in relationships. I could be someone who has a drug problem. It doesn't matter. All of us at some level are dealing with our past. So let's just talk about an addict for just a few minutes. If you're struggling with an addiction of any kind, there's no way that you can hang out with someone that's still active in that addiction. Can't do it. If that person is active in that addiction, then you have to sever the relationship because it's harmful to you. And I'm not saying doing that in a rude way or an ungodly way or an unloving way. I'm just simply saying you've got to do it in a way that bears love, but you still got to do it. You have to sever certain relationships. You can't let them hang around because Satan will use them to distract you. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask again. If there's somebody that a name comes to mind. If there's somebody in this auditorium, a name comes to mind, then you've got to act on that. And that doesn't mean you have to call them. It just means you need to move away. That's all it means. So if that is true, then let's talk about what kind of relationships that I need in my life. There are some kinds of relationships that I don't need, those that distract me from being a follower of Jesus. Now let's talk about the kind of relationships that I do need. And I want to suggest that everybody needs 4 kinds of relationships. This might be all wrapped up in one person. It could be. I suppose it could be. I doubt it. But I suppose it could be. So these are the 4 kinds of relationships that we need to have in our lives. The first kind of relationship that we need to have in our life is a person who is an encourager. I need someone who's going to encourage me because this life has a great way of just slamming you down, giving you a body slam on the turf. And I'm just saying, it's painful, it's hurtful. I need somebody in my life that is going to pick me up, dust me off, and say, you know, it's going to be okay. I need an encourager in my life. Everybody does. Life is hard. Life is difficult. Life is filled with tragedy. And if I don't have an encourager in my life, I'm going to get despondent at times. I'm going to go in the wrong direction. So everybody needs to have somebody in their life who is an encouragement, who gets up and says words to you that makes you move forward, that allows you to do what God has called you to do. Someone who is going to say to you, you can do this. You can do this. I don't care what anybody else says. I believe in you. That's what an encourager says. I believe in you. I know you have the power to do this. I know you have the walk with Christ to do this. I know that Christ is going to do great things in your life. That's what an encourager does. Everybody needs an encourager. When President Garfield was tragically shot and then died, Vice President Chester Arthur became the President of the United States out of necessity. He was a political mess when he took office. Everybody in the country feared that he would absolutely destroy the country because he was influenced by a man that was a New York politician that literally controlled this guy. So everybody was fearful of what would happen. And he had never held an office in his life like with this kind of power. And so he had no idea what to do. And he was visibly distraught and shaken. And there was a woman who was an invalid, who was crippled. And she decided to take on this president. So every day, she wrote him a letter of encouragement. What kind of effect did that have on him? This is someone who had a handicap. What kind of encouragement did she bring to his life? I'm going to tell you, but based on his own words, it changed his life. It allowed him to break and sever the relationship that he had with this ungodly politician. And what happened is President Arthur basically appointed this woman as an unofficial advisor to his presidency because of the kind of influence that she had. Literally, he said, she changed my life. That's the power of an encourager. The power of an encourager has the ability to change your life. So everybody needs to have the power of encouragement around them. I hope that you do. I pray that you do. But that's not all you need. There's also something else that you need. Everybody needs not only an encourager, everybody in this room needs a confronter. Someone who is going to confront them and say, bad choice, Dan. Bad choice. Wrong path. Wrong attitude. Wrong thinking. Everybody in this room needs to have somebody who has the courage, and you and I have to have the courage to let confronters in because it's hard to let confronters in, right? We don't like conflict. You like conflict? I don't. But I need it in my life. If I'm going to ever walk with Jesus the way I'm supposed to, I need to have confronters inside of my life that are going to say to me all the hard things when I need to have them said. Not in a mean way, not in an unjust way, and not all the time, but when I need it. I need to have someone who is going to push me out in the forefront and say, you know what, Dan, it's time for you to act. You got to move. You got to get up out of your chair. You got to say something. You got to do something. I need somebody like that inside of my life. And I have it, by the way, and you should too. You should too. Truthfully, I am not a natural confronter. It's not part of my personality. But the truth is that I need to confront. That's part of my job is confrontation. What I do on Sundays is easy. This is easy to look at you and, you have beautiful faces and, to tell you laugh at all my jokes. Some of you do anyway. Others will talk to you later afterwards. But here's the reality. This is the easiest part of my job. The hardest part of my job is when I have to look somebody in the eyes and say, bad, out of bounds, not right. Move forward. That's the hard part. And everybody needs it in their life as well. So I need somebody in my life who's going to confront me. The other thing that I need in my life, besides someone who's going to encourage and confront me, I also need somebody in my life who's going to stabilize me. So I'm just going to tell you, I am on the DISC test a D, which means I'm a high-level leader. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram test. If you know anything about that, it means that I'm a controller. And so there are times I'll see something and my blood pressure will rise, and I've got some people in my life that will sit me down and say, before you say something, why don't you just think about this? How many of you all have said things that you regretted later? Come on now. Come on, you said things, out of anger and out of frustration. You just vomit all over people. Everybody in their life needs a stabilizer. Needs somebody that's just going to calm you down, say, sit down, you're in timeout. You're in timeout for a while until you can just get your blood pressure under control, and now you can talk like a reasonable adult can talk. Everybody needs a stabilizer, right? And then everybody else also needs someone who is going to stretch them. Because naturally, you know what's going to happen in my life? I'm going to stay where I'm at. I'm just going to stay where I'm at. I'm just going to stay where I'm at. Naturally, I'm going to stay where I'm at because it's comfortable. So I need someone to kind of kick me out of the nest and say, you got to do more. You got to trust God more. I need someone who's going to stretch me. So I need an encourager, I need a confronter, I need a stabilizer, and I need someone who is going to stretch me in my walk with Jesus. Sometimes that can be one person, but rarely is it one person. Most of the time it's a combination of 3 or 4 people that is that in your life. And if you don't have that, the question that begs is, where do I get that? I'd like to have those kind of relationships, but where do I get that in a culture that, listen to me carefully, is progressively isolating itself? Where do I find those kind of relationships? Social media, listen to me carefully, is a wonderful thing. I'm on it every day. But social media is also destructive in a lot of ways in our country, because what it's doing is it's isolating us. God has created us to be in community, not in isolation. So it's easy to sit in my room and type stuff out and call that relationship. It's far more difficult to be face to face. If that were enough, Jesus wouldn't have had to come to this planet to die for us. Jesus didn't send a virtual figure. He sent his son to die for you and me. And so you and I are wired and need to have community. And so where would I find the kind of relationships that I'm talking about here today? I think there are 3 places that you find the kind of relationships that I'm talking about. Number 1, I think you find the kind of relationship that I'm talking about at God's throne. You find it there. First of all, you've got to learn how, listen to me carefully, you've got to learn how to be a friend to God. He's a friend of yours. He's a friend of sinners. But I don't know if anybody's ever said this to you, but are you a friend of God? Are you actually working on your friendship with God? So that's the place you start. You start at the throne of God, and you start with the idea that I've got to cultivate this relationship to God as a friend. As a friend. How would a friend respond to this living God? If I call myself God's friend, what would my behavior be like? What I speak be like? How are my emotions? So I cultivate first it at the throne of God, but then in addition to that, I'm asking God to bring those kind of relationships into my life. So I come before God's throne, I'm working on my relationship to God all the time. But I'm also asking God to bring human relationships into my life that are that way. God, I need someone who is going to stretch me. Would you please bring that into my life? You start with prayer. You start by asking God. You have not because you ask not. And when you ask, you don't ask with the right motives. That's what James says. And so you start by asking God to bring those kind of relationships into your life. Then secondly, where would I look for those kind of relationships? I think you would probably look for those kind of relationships in a church, right? In the church. I would look for them in the church. I mean, you could look for them in a bar, I suppose, or on social media, but I'm going to say you're not going to find them there. You're going to find them in the church. Now, let me just speak to that for just a few minutes, and I'm going to stretch you. I'm going to become a stretcher here today, okay? I'm going to stretch your walk with God just a shade. So when you, listen to me carefully, smile at me. I'm going to say something really hard to some of you here today. When you show up 10 minutes late and you leave as soon as Pastor Dan says, amen, you're in that parking lot and you're in your car trying to get out of the parking lot. When that happens, my friend, listen, why would you expect God to bring those kind of friends in your life? To have a friend, you got to be a friend. Where would you look? You would look inside the church. What would happen if you started showing up 10 minutes early, hanging out, having a cup of coffee, introducing yourself to a few folks? Maybe something could happen there, right? Or maybe instead of just running out after services, maybe you just hang out with us and just, chill a little while with us and find out who we really are. Church isn't about staring at the back of someone's head. It's not. Church is not that. Church is about relationship. It's about relationship. And I'm just telling you, everybody needs what I'm talking about. Everybody needs the kind of friendship that we're speaking of here today. And so where would I find it? I would find it at the throne of God. I would find it in the church. And lastly, I would find it on a team in the church. So let me talk about that for just a second. I love the concept of team. Teams are amazing. Why do you suppose teams are so great for kids growing up in school? Because something happens on a team that happens nowhere else in our culture. There is a camaraderie. You win, you lose, you have pain, you suffer together, you have exhilaration together, you score points together. You're on a mission together. There's something that connects you on a team that connects you in no other way. So what would I do if I were sitting where you're sitting? I would say, God, I want to be on a team. Not only do I want to just be in the church, you could do that forever. I want to be on a team. And what I mean by that team, there are 7 or 8 different kinds of teams here at Grace Church that you could, based on your talents, gifts, and abilities, we could figure out a place for you to serve on a team so that you could be together with people serving and walking in the same direction. And I'm telling you, that ups the standard of your walk with Jesus. It does. It does up what happens in your life when you start serving on a team. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you a nudge. It's up to you whether you want to do it. If you're here today and you're not currently serving on a team and you are convicted by Pastor Dan that you should be, I want you to take out your mobile device right now. Just take it out. There needs to be right now movement. Okay? Because it's really awkward when you just stare at me. That's just rude. I mean, you just stare at people like this all the time. Just saying, it's just awkward. So you're going to take out your mobile device and you are going to text the word serve to 411-247. 411, information, that's how we remember it, 411-24/7. So you text the word serve, and here's what's going to happen. The world's not going to blow up. Your life is not going to come crashing down. Your life is not going to be destroyed. We'll contact you sometime in the next week or 10 days. We'll contact you and said, hey, you texted this word serve, and we're going to start talking to you about maybe what you could do on a team at Grace Church. And I'm telling you, it is amazing. I'm on a team. I meet weekly with my team, and we plan things together. It is an amazing thing. We walk together in life. We love each other. It is an amazing thing when you are on a team. Does that make sense to you? So the next question is, what in the world are you going to do with what I just said? Because I gave you an earful of what's next for your life, the next step for you in your walk with Jesus is for you to figure out how to be in relationship, in community, doing God's bidding, God's way in community. Let's pray together. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you, Lord, for just the amazing things that you're going to do in our life. And I pray for everyone that just texted, God, I pray that you would just give them courage to continue to step out and to actually land on a team, God. And I pray, God, that you would be honored by all that I said here today. In Jesus' holy name, amen.